Okay, here's video number 2. I thought that it would probably still be beneficial to go over the how to zip files. And so what I've done is I've prepared this folder here, which as you can see up here is my chapter 3 folder from the data files that you all have. And in there I have the Harvest Market file that I've worked on, and then of course the 2 images that I used in that assignment to complete it. And what I've done is I've saved those rather than saving them to like my pictures or the desktop or something like that. I've saved them right into the chapter 3 data file folder, so that I can keep all of the files that I used to work on that assignment right in the same directory here, and that makes them easier to find and things like that. And so as you're completing your chapter work and saving everything in here, normally you would have several other files in here that have different names as you're renaming them according to the book. And for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to use some of the default files along with the Harvest Market file that I've renamed. And basically what we're wanting to do is make a selection of whatever files you need to zip or include in your zip. And so to do that, there's a couple of ways we can do that. If the files are all in a row, like these 4 files here, you can simply select the starting file and then go down to the last file that you need to select. And if you hold the Shift key and then click once, you'll get a selection of everything in between. And that's nice and easy when they're all in order like that. But rarely are you going to probably find that as you're renaming stuff. It's just going to be all over the place. And so I guess you could try to reorder your files by file name and do it that way, but they still may not fall in a particular order. And that's easily overcome by just, instead of holding the Shift key down, you can select any one of the files you want to turn in, hold the Control key down, and then simply select those files at random. And then you can also reselect if you get something you didn't want by accident. Just click on it again and it'll deselect it. And then once you have the files that you're wanting to add to your zip, you just go to any one of those files that's highlighted and do a right mouse click on it. And what that'll do, and you can see I can click on any of these files to do that, and it'll open up this dialog. And in that dialog you should have a 7-zip option if you're using 7-zip. And if you're not, then you should get something similar. As long as you have a compression software like WinZip or something like that installed, normally it will give you this option by right clicking. And then of course over here we'll open another dialog, and you'll want to choose something again similar to add to archive. So I'm going to select that option, and then we get the add to archive dialog for 7-zip. And by default it just calls it chapter 3. And that's pretty similar to what we want to use, but for our class we want to have our name or some form of our name, and then the chapter that we're actually turning in. And I like to keep it simple. You could leave it just like this if you want, but I like to even make it simpler than that, and that's basically what I would do. And then the other thing you need to be aware of is that it does need to have the ZIP extension on it. I know a number of you have turned in files that have the 7-zip option at the end or extension, and that's okay in terms of I can still open them, but again, for grading purposes and things like that, it's much easier for me if you have them in a zip format, and so that's why I require that. And if it's just again, it's kind of like a toggle, so no matter what you select, it's going to add that on the end for you. And because we've selected our files from the directory that they were saved in, that's also the default location where this file is going to be saved to automatically. So having said that, basically all of the other options that are in here can be left alone. And then basically you're just clicking OK at that point, and then it will give you a quick dialog box there because it didn't have that great of a file size to zip. And then you'll see automatically in here is the chapter 3 zip file that I just created. And if you're not sure if you have the right files in there, then you can just double click on that. and you'll see that you have your files in here. And then you can just either go back, or you can just select your folder again. And this is the file that you're going to want to turn in to me. And again, it should have your name in the chapter, and then the files inside, they'll simply be named whatever the book told you to name them. And that is pretty much it for zipping. I mean, once you get to the Dropbox, I think most of you, if not all of you, are getting the process at that point where you just, tell it to look on your computer. Because you've saved it in your chapter 3, you don't have to hunt for it anywhere, and then you'll select that file and upload it. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully that covers all the questions that you might have had as far as zipping goes. And if there is anything else that I missed or anything like that, just shoot me an email, and I can either cover that by email, or I can do another video if necessary. But hope that helps.